It happened in the space of about 3 seconds, and I swear those 3 seconds rewired my brain forever. One moment I was standing under warm lights, listening to people laugh, feeling my wife squeeze my hand, thinking, yeah, this is it, this is the good part of life. And the next moment, the doors behind me flew open so hard they slammed into the walls, and a man with a gun was screaming at me to get on the ground. No warning, no explanation, just rage boots on polished wood and a Glock aimed straight at my chest. You know what I mean when I say your body reacts before your thoughts catch up. That's exactly what happened. I remember thinking, this has to be some kind of mistake. Weddings don't end like this. Not real ones. Not mine. I was still wearing a tuxedo, for God's sake. The music had cut off. Mid-note glasses were tipping over on tables. People were gasping, and my wife, Elena, was right there in front of me, eyes wide, confused, still smiling because she didn't understand yet. None of us did. I stepped forward instinctively, hands open, palms out, the way I'd done 100 times in courtrooms and tense hallways, trying to slow things down instead of make them worse. I said, calm as I could, "Officer, is there an emergency? Is someone hurt?" He didn't answer. He didn't even really look at my face. He just saw a black man in a tuxedo standing too confidently in a place he'd already decided I didn't belong. He closed the distance fast, like he'd been waiting for this. The impact came out of nowhere, shoulder straight into my chest, and the floor slammed my face like it was trying to erase me. Hardwood is unforgiving. My cheek split instantly, and I tasted blood before I even realized I was bleeding. Somewhere behind me, someone screamed. I think it was my mother, but honestly, it all blurred together. Elena dropped down beside me, her dress pooling on the floor, white, turning red where my face hit her shoulder. She was crying, saying, "Please, please, that's my husband, you're hurting him." The officer didn't hesitate. He snapped, back up, or you're next. And there was something in his voice that wasn't about control or safety. It was personal. That's when I knew this wasn't about a misunderstanding. My name is Marcus Reed, and at the time this happened, I was an assistant United States attorney, a federal prosecutor, the kind of guy cops usually nod to joke with, maybe complain to about paperwork. But that title didn't matter in that moment, not even a little. Outside the hotel, under bright valet lights, sat my car, a black luxury sedan with "just married" scribbled on the back window in sloppy white marker by my groomsmen. Somewhere in the city, a call had gone out. Stolen vehicle, blackmail, formal wear. That was it. That was all he needed. The officer's name was Sergeant Nolan Briggs, 20-plus years on the force. Thick neck, graying buzz cut, a reputation people whispered about and never challenged. Complaints that somehow never stuck. Warnings that went nowhere. Promotions that made you wonder how broken the system really was. He didn't run my plates. He didn't call it in. He didn't wait for backup. He came hunting. As he yanked my arms behind my back and cranked the cuffs down so tight my fingers went numb, I did the one thing training had drilled into me over and over. I stopped resisting completely. I said through clenched teeth, "Officer, I am not a suspect. I am a federal prosecutor. My ID is in my jacket. Please verify." He laughed, a real laugh. Leaned down so close I could smell old coffee and cigarettes on his breath and said, "Yeah, and I'm the president." That's when Judge Hale stood up. 70 years old, silver hair voice that had commanded courtrooms for decades. He said, "Officer, I am Judge Robert Hale of the Federal District Court. You are making a grave mistake." Briggs didn't even look at him. He barked, "Sit down, old man, or I'll charge you too." And right there, something shifted in my chest, because I realized he wasn't going to stop. He had decided who I was, and facts weren't invited to the conversation. They dragged me through the lobby, past tourists frozen in shock, past phones Briggs knocked away out into the humid night. He shoved me against the cruiser and started searching my pockets. When he pulled out my wallet and opened it under the streetlight, I watched his face change. The DOJ badge, the seal, my name, my title. For half a second, the world went quiet. That was the moment he could have uncuffed me, apologized, walked away with his career intact. Instead, he snapped the wallet shut, shoved it into his own pocket, and muttered, "Fake. Nice try." Something went cold and clear inside me then. Because once he did that, it wasn't a mistake anymore. It was a crime. At the precinct, they treated me like trash. Booking desk, torn tux, blood drying on my face. The desk sergeant looked at me, then at Briggs, then back at me, like none of this made sense. "Charges?" he asked. Briggs rattled them off like groceries. Grand theft auto, resisting, assault on an officer. I stood as straight as the cuffs allowed and said, "I request a phone call, medical attention, and I want the time and my condition logged." Briggs slammed me forward and told me to shut up. I said it anyway, I am an assistant United States attorney. The arresting officer has confiscated my federal credentials. The pen slipped from the sergeant's hand and hit the floor. You could feel the air change. Briggs stepped in front of me, said, "He's lying." Fake badge, tossed it. I looked straight at the desk sergeant and said, "Check the evidence bag." Briggs didn't let him. He grabbed me and dragged me down the hall, shoved me into a cell, and slammed the door. He leaned in close, voice low and ugly, said, "You think you're special. In here, you're nobody. Keep talking and you'll trip again harder." I wiped blood from my lip with the back of my cuffed hand and looked at him with something that surprised even me. It wasn't anger. It was pity. I said, "You have no idea what you've done." He laughed and walked away. About 20 minutes later, the station changed. You could feel it before you saw it. Boots moving with purpose, radios crackling, then a voice that cut through everything. "I want my prosecutor. Now. Judge Hale." Furious, U.S. Marshals flanking him, FBI agents filling the lobby like a movie scene nobody wanted to be in. The captain came running out pale, trying to understand how his quiet shift turned into a federal nightmare. Judge Hale said, "You have one of my prosecutors locked in a cage. Produce him in 30 seconds or this entire building becomes a crime scene." Keys rattled, footsteps rushed. My cell door opened. I stood slowly, shoulder screaming, and walked out. Briggs was pinned against the wall by Marshall's eyes darting like a trapped animal. I looked at him and said quietly, "My badge. Give it to me," he stammered. The rookie officer at the end of the hall cracked and said he put it in his pocket. An FBI agent pulled my wallet out, opened it, handed it back to me. I slid the badge where it belonged and turned to the agent beside me. "Arrest him." The next few months were surreal. The footage leaked, his words, his intent, all caught on dashcam audio he forgot existed. The trial didn't take long. Guilty, every count, 15 years, no parole. But that wasn't the end of it, not even close. The city thought it could write a check and make me disappear. They offered small numbers, then bigger ones, hoping I'd take the money and sign something that kept me quiet. They didn't understand who they were dealing with. I sued them not gently, not quietly. I dug through records they prayed no one would ever read. Found emails, memos, performance reviews, warning about aggressive behavior toward minorities. Promotions signed anyway. A pattern so clear it made my stomach turn. This wasn't one bad cop. This was a system that protected him. When they finally settled, it wasn't symbolic. $11.6 million. At the press conference, cameras flashing, I held the check up so everyone could see it. Then I told them we weren't keeping a dime.